Hello, my name's Claire from Conscious Chemo, and today I want to share my top simple switches as part of my anti-cancer nutrition or lifestyle. So I was a big tea drinker before my diagnosis, loved a cup of tea. I knew that herbal tea would have been is healthier for me, and I would sometimes have herbal tea, but my go-to was traditional breakfast tea. I have now switched to rooibos, or sometimes called red bush. And interestingly, I used to not like that, but now I've got so used to it, I really do enjoy it. But what I really love is the powder form, the matcha powder, rooibos matcha powder, which you can get from Bird & Co. I order the refill, and I enjoy that now just as much, if not more, than the caffeinated or decaffeinated breakfast tea that I used to have. So there's my first switch. I also do drink herbal teas, and like green tea bags. I have and have had all the way throughout. Really good for antioxidants. And again, you can get a matcha powder that's got more catechins in it, and it's the catechins that are really beneficial for your health. So you might, if you're drinking green tea, you could consider getting the matcha powder, which is more potent and has more health benefits in it. Milk. I was drinking cow's milk before this diagnosis sometimes, and now I'm not drinking any. So I pretty much went dairy free, apart from I do have kefir. So nut milk mainly I've been having, coconut, almond, but also sometimes I'll have oat milk. So that's my switch there. Cow's milk is known to be very inflammatory and is mass produced now. I was having organic cow's milk before, but now nut milk or oat milk. I instantly started having avocado instead of butter. So again, as an alternative for dairy there, and also much healthier fat intake. And I just spread thin layer of avocado on instead of butter on anything that I have. So that's my switch there. Bread. Instead of the regular bread I was having, I had sourdough, which is fed, so it's fermented, it's part digested, so it's much easier for your body to digest and has lots of health benefits. My sister-in-law very kindly used to make me a loaf every week, and so I knew that there wasn't any added salt, sugar in it, and also she would use wholemeal organic flour. I have since found 2 local health food shops that homemade it and sell it, and they don't put any of the sugar or salt in, and they use organic flour as well. So that might be something to look for. So what I used to do is buy a couple of loaves, slice up, put it in the freezer, and then it was there if I wanted it. Another switch is seed crackers. So if you're looking for something like for picnicky stuff, if you're going out the house, or I brought some up for this trip and I've been having just avocado on these crackers, then and that's seed based. Again, if there's nothing added, so much healthier than regular sort of bread and cracker type things. Instead of sugar, I've actually just been trying to cut out all sugar and alternatives such as honey. Sugar is known to feed cancer. It's also inflammatory. It's, the first thing that any nutritionist, colonic cardiotherapist would say to omit from your diet in almost all health conditions and crises, any sort of autoimmune disease. The first thing that I've always been advised is to cut out sugar. So I have cut out virtually all sugar apart from what's naturally occurring in fruit and vegetables and nuts and seeds. So I haven't been having any honey. I haven't used stevia, but I am advised that stevia would be an acceptable substitute. So if you are looking to use an alternative in a recipe, then stevia instead of sugar. I have bought date sugar, and I've used that very occasionally in a tray bake that I make. So date sugar is another alternative that you could consider. And I was advised by my naturopath that if you're going to use anything, stevia or occasionally maple syrup. and I've got an organic maple syrup that I put a tiddly bit of. So I've got a recipe that I will share for a tray bake that I make, which I really, really enjoy. And the recipe says 250 grams of honey, which is an entire pot of honey. And I put a splash of maple syrup, not much at all, probably a tablespoon to 1 to 2 tablespoons, and a teaspoon of date sugar. And that's enough for me. I then really, really enjoy it. And that goes in a whole tray rather than a whole tub of honey. So just remember, honey is still sugar. Yes, it's better than added sugar, but it is still going to really raise sugar levels in the system. Again, a tip from my naturopath shared that if you are going to have fish and chips, then try and find a fish and chip shop that use Frymax oil, so it's not being constantly reheated. So that's much better for you. So looking to omit hydrogenated fats out of your diet. So the only oils I have now, this is a switch that I've made since, is coconut oil or extra virgin olive oil, and I do buy organic. There's a brand you can get that they often have on offer in Tesco's that I use, and I try to use the extra virgin olive oil for cold salad dressings, and I just literally will squirt in it some lemon or some lime, and that's my salad dressing. And then use the coconut oil when I'm cooking and heating, but I do sometimes use the extra virgin olive oil for heating too. But they're the only 2 oils now I use, apart from I do a very nice roasted cauliflower steak, and I put sesame oil on that. That's it. That's my that's all I use for oils. Another little tip for if you are eating dairy still, then to switch your milk-based dairy products for goat dairy products. Anything from a goat, I've been advised from a naturopath, or my naturopath, is much less inflammatory and has more health benefits. It's not as mass-produced. So goat's cheese, goat's milk, goat's butter, much better than the cow's equivalent. The only cow's product I've been having is kefir. So instead of yogurts, I'm having kefir because it has got more good bacteria in it for your gut health. In an ideal world, I'd make my own at home. I have once made water kefir, but I'm not that disciplined at looking after these things. It's something I do want to explore more. But you can buy the collaborative kefir from Waitrose. I really enjoy it. I've got really used to it now. So that's just another recommendation instead of yogurt. And if you can ferment your own, make your own at home, even better. Chocolate. So instead of chocolate, I have dark chocolate. I have 85% cacao, which means it's really low in sugar. Really look at the packets if you're having dark chocolate. They vary enormously in terms of how much sugar is in them. So I'm having Lindt 85%, and if I'll use that if I'm making desserts or if I just fancy a little bit of something sweet. If you're not used to it, it's going to taste really bitter to start with, but I'm so used to it now that I actually really do enjoy it. So your buds will change the more that you have healthy food, and in fact your body will end up craving for it. And if you sort of go to a regular diet, and then you'll almost want to get back onto the more healthy healthy food I've found since I've been doing it. There's nothing that I miss. I really enjoy being healthy. It makes me feel good, makes me feel clean, and I'm at a point now where I will occasionally, if I'm eating out, I'll just have something that's still quite healthy off the menu, but I'll really enjoy it and I won't worry about every single ingredient. That feels good too. And then another switch that's really great is sweet potatoes instead of white potatoes. So they're not as they don't break down as in sugar as they're not as high glycemic index. And sweet potatoes have got a lot of health benefits, really good for digestion in the gut. And so yeah, sometimes I have it mashed, sometimes I roast sweet potato, put them in salads. So that's been a big switch for me. So they're my main recommendations for easy switches that will improve your diet. I'm sure there's lots more I could share. Okay, so here's another one. I chop up Chinese cabbage, or you could just use lettuce and then put something like, I do like a vegan chili on top, so instead of rice. So if you're not looking to have too much carbohydrates that might break down to sugar, just use a bed of salad instead of rice. I know that also you can use cauliflower rice, homemade cauliflower rice instead of rice, just to increase your vegetable intake. So yeah, my diet during my high dose chemo was virtually like, my meals were pretty much just veg in different ways, sometimes steamed, sometimes roasted, sometimes salad based, stew based, and by and large that's carried on. And yeah, you can just start adding more substitutions. You can spiralize courgettes instead of pasta, so I've done that a few times as well. That's another easy switch. So some tips there on how to increase vegetable intake, reduce your sugar intake, and have a more anti-inflammatory diet and a less stress-inducing diet. So I hope these tips have helped. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. Wishing you all the best on your healing journey. Sending loads of love from here at Bottomere Lake in the Lake District. How stunning. Claire from Conscious Chemo.